In the 1 minute it will take for me to read the next few lines, 24 people in the United States will become victims of rape, physical violence, or stalking by an intimate partner. Domestic violence is a concern in every state and in every community. Earlier this month, a Shorewood woman was murdered in a case of domestic violence, and a 4-year-old Milwaukee boy was allegedly murdered by his father, who has a history of domestic violence convictions. Let's learn more about domestic violence and what we can do to stop it. With us is Carmen Pitre. She is the president and CEO of Sojourner Family Peace Center. Sojourner is the largest nonprofit provider of domestic violence prevention and intervention services in Wisconsin. Carmen, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you and to talk about this important topic.
Is domestic violence on the rise, or unfortunately, are there just more high-profile cases that we are aware of?
I would say it's a complicated answer. I think both things are true. If you look at homicides, which I consider the tip of the iceberg, there are less homicides that are happening. We hit an all-time high in 2020 of 52 domestic violence related homicides, and we've been going down. So the tip of the iceberg has been getting better, even though we've had some very painful, tragic, high-profile cases recently, the two you mentioned in your opening. One is too many from our perspective because a homicide takes away a loved one, a person, an individual that had a lot of contributions to give to the community. So in that regard, it is going down, but there is far too much lethal violence, which means that people are being strangled, threatened with guns, burned, stabbed at too high a rate, and we still have far too many children witnessing violence. So I would say the answer is yes and no. We're still living in I think, a sea of violence that's way too normalized in our society.
When folks come to Sojourner for help, what kind of help can they get? Because I'm thinking that for someone to make that decision to try to leave a domestic violence situation, it's not an easy decision for them to make. And oftentimes we know that people leave with nothing more than what they are wearing and carrying with them.
I think what you said is exactly right. To make the decision to reach out for help is a very hard one because survivors are isolated. They often feel as though it's their fault. And so reaching out is a very significant moment. If you think about the landscape of Sojourner, we have a crisis shelter. We have 53 beds, given depending on the census and the configuration of families. We shelter men, women, and children, smaller amount of men who live with us. But any given year, it's about 350 to 400 people who live with us on average 30, 60, 90 days as they're transitioning. Technically, they're leaving violence, so they're homeless because of the violence. And that's a very hard decision to make, to go and live with 30, 40 other people you don't know, right? That is probably what we're best known for. We also do a 24-hour hotline where you can call anonymously. The message we want to get out is you can call, you can come and stay in shelter, you can do what's right for you. We're not here to tell you what to do. We're here to support you in your decision making. Sometimes people don't call because they feel afraid that they're going to be told they have to leave, they have to make a decision, and that's not the case. We do a large amount of systems work. So anytime there's police involvement, court involvement, children's court, we are there walking side by side with people trying to help them navigate and understand what this system, what's happening in the system. We do individual support. We do a ton of crisis work, like by security systems. We do cleanup when a homicide has happened. We help with burials. We do home visits. We work with police to do assessments of homes when there's a threat. So we do a ton of individual support all around the safety. We help with restraining orders. That's a large portion of our work. And we just sort of walk side by side with people. We work with kids. We have a number of significant programs for children who are growing up currently in violence. We do hope and healing services for adults who need to heal. So the message is you're not alone. It's not your fault. We're here to help. When you reach out to us, we want to find out what's most important to you as a survivor.
What are some of the warning signs that people need to look for that tell them you're in an abusive situation and potentially your life is in danger?
The important thing I want to say is if you feel like you're in danger, number one, trust your instinct. If something is happening to you, you're being injured or hurt or forced into behavior that doesn't feel comfortable for you, so forced sexual activity, holding you against your will, it can be subtle or it could be severe. On the subtle end, it might be controlling where you go, who you interact with, controlling your money, driving you to work, not letting you drive yourself, not letting you see your family. It could be this subtle to extreme progression of controlling behavior, obsessive behavior. It could include most emotional abuse, verbal abuse. Most of the survivors I have worked with will tell you it started out subtly, and they thought that the behavior was love and it morphed into more and more control. So I would say controlling behavior, jealousy, telling you where and what you can do, isolating you from other people, and eventually physically harming you, sexually harming you, degrading you, making you feel less than a human being. So it can be a continuum, like I said, can start out verbally, end up physically.
One of the things that really struck me when I was looking at your website is a section that says, if someone threatens to kill you, you need to believe them. That has got to be a very difficult thing for someone to come to when they're in a relationship that didn't start out the way that it's existing.
Right. I saw when I was preparing for our conversation, that is a very difficult question to think about. Who wants to believe that somebody we trust, we love, we have hope in, invested in, wants to hurt us? But often clients normalize the violence in their lives and they face incredible barriers that prevent them from leaving. And so they will often say they move into denial about the danger that they're in because it's part of the cycle of what's been happening. Perhaps they saw it as a child. Some survivors will say, well, that's just our love language. And what is dangerous about that is if someone is actually saying, I'm going to kill you, we need to listen to their words and move ourselves into a place where we can hear it and begin to figure out how to move ourselves out of the situation. So sometimes it can be violence has been normalized, it's acceptable, I'm depending on the person, so I can't face how difficult the threat is. But what I want to say is there are people here to help you. If you talk to survivors, they will say leaving was hard, but it was the most important thing they did.
Carmen, we are so grateful for the work that you do at Sojourner. It's difficult work, but we are thankful that you are there to guide individuals through this very difficult time. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you are being impacted by domestic violence, you can call Sojourner's 24-hour domestic violence hotline at 414-933-2722. If you can't call, text 414-877-8100. And as always, call 911 if your life could be in danger. We're right back.